Well, the big news today is that Clerk of Court, Becky Hill, has officially resigned. Effective immediately, she is no longer the Clerk of Court, and she's not going to be running for re-election either. And there was a small press conference that was held, and because I feel that this is very important, and of course everybody wants to be able to hear some of my analysis on this, that's why I felt, even with a little bit of a sore voice, I'm going to do my best in giving you some of my analysis, some of my observations, and of course, maybe if I would have done anything different if I was advising Becky Hill. So she did have her attorney there with her, and she had a press conference. Now, some of you may be feeling like, isn't it so pity to go and take apart a press conference of this Clerk of Court and her attorney, which are just giving a press conference and she's resigning? It's not fair. It's too petty. And my response to that would be is that everybody knows that this is a very public case. Everything that happened in this case. So first of all, the trial, the murder trial, and now the book and the allegations of jury tampering and the complaints to the ethics commissions and the SLED investigation. This is extremely public. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? So when you're getting up there in a press conference and you know it's going to be broadcast across the entire nation, you're not just going to do an impromptu press conference. Obviously, what you should be doing is that every word should be measured, what your message is, and the implications of what you're saying. It should be carefully done. And as an attorney for her, that's what you should be thinking. This is not just be impromptu. And what it appears to be is that Becky Hill had a statement, which she read, and her attorney didn't seem like he had a statement. It seemed like he had some ideas in his head, and that's a little bit dangerous. And you have to be careful, because when you're on the spot, you may say things which is not really what you wanted to say, and you figure that out later. It may sound at the time like a decent answer, but if it's not well thought out before, what possible questions could I be asked? And how would I deal with certain types of questions? Then you can end up saying certain things which maybe you didn't mean on saying, and now it's going to be already broadcasted across the world, and people like me can start taking it apart. And I'm not doing this to poke fun at anybody. This is just regular lawyerly analysis that I do, and I take statements apart. I give my analysis. So if you think it's too petty, then I apologize. But I think it's fair game. That's the point. I think it's fair game, and I think it's important enough that even with a little bit of a sore throat, I'm going to try to do my best and give you my analysis. So let's first jump into the first clip, which was by her attorney. Her attorney made the first opening statements to the press before he called on Becky Hill. Let's take a look.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Bamberg. Myself, along with Will Lewis, are counsel for Miss Becky Hill, the Colleton County Clerk of Court. Today will be brief, but today's important. Obviously, over the last few months, Ms. Hill has really wanted to address her constituents. Obviously, with things that were going on, she has certain rights, and she's got to protect herself, most of which came under the advice of counsel. And that, I think, has been lost on a lot of people with everything that's been going on, is that as Clerk of Court, you do have a constituency, the residents here in Colleton County. And today could have occurred hiding behind a computer screen or hiding behind her lawyers. And Ms. Hill was committed to that not happening. And I stand with her, and I also respect her very much for being here today. So without further ado, I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Becky Hill.
All right, so what did he say? He said, obviously, over the past few months, Ms. Hill wanted to address her constituents. And let's take that apart for a minute, okay? What we're going to be hearing consistently throughout this press conference is the word constituents. And that's not by accident. It's purposely done. And the reason for that is to convey the message that this is the point of this press conference is for the constituents, for the citizens of Colleton County, and that's it. Whether this is broadcasted around the world, that's really not what we're intending. We don't really care about what the entire world thinks about this. This is just for the in the best interest of the constituents of Colleton County. And that's why you're going to be consistently hearing constituents throughout the entire press conference, because that's what they want to make this all about. This is all about what's in the best interest of Colleton County. And then, but he also says that over the past few months, she really wanted to address her constituents. Well, what exactly happened over the past few months? Well, the past few months, we know that that's when all of these allegations of jury tampering were made, and the ethics complaints filed to the ethics commissions, and now these investigations by SLED into Becky Hill. Well, that's why it seems that she really wanted to address her constituents, right? That's what he's implying here. He's saying that over the past few months, she really wanted to address you all. And it seems like, okay, now you're going to come address us, the constituents, and I guess tell us your side of the story and proclaim your innocence or give an explanation or something. So that's where it seems to be where he's heading. And then the whole press conference has nothing to do with anything about that. And what was so important that the past few months she really wanted to say something, but she couldn't? Why couldn't she say anything? Well, the most obvious answer is that she wasn't going to say anything before her evidentiary hearing. Okay, fine. Well, now that the evidentiary hearing happened already a while ago, where was she? Why didn't she come out and hold a press conference earlier than this? Where was she? And maybe you'll say, well, there's a pending investigation. The ethics commissions and SLED's investigating her. So she doesn't want to say anything during a pending investigation, which is a common phrase that we hear all the time. I'm not going to comment when there's a pending investigation. Well, the investigation is still pending. So obviously that's not the reason. So the only reason really that it makes sense is that you didn't want to speak before the evidentiary hearing. Okay, well, that happened a while ago. So as much as he did explain why maybe she wouldn't say anything before the evidentiary hearing, but why didn't she speak immediately after the evidentiary hearing? She's just been wanting to talk to her constituents so badly. She just wanted to tell them things. Well, where were you? So he didn't really answer that question. Really leaves it as a little bit of a mystery. All right. And then he says that advice of counsel, she had to protect herself. Right. And he says that today could have happened behind a computer screen or behind her lawyers, meaning she didn't have to get up and have a press conference about this. She could have just sent a letter a letter of resignation, and then she could have publicized that letter, and she could have just bowed out that way. But she's much more courageous than that. She is going to, wants to speak to her constituents face to face, get out there and talk to you directly, and that's why she's doing this. So, of course, as a lawyer, you got to do that. You want to make your client look good, and you show how courageous she is, and show how this is really much more intimate, and she doesn't want to hide behind a computer screen or her lawyer. She wants to have much more of an intimate connection with her constituents. So that was the first part. Now let's move on to what Becky Hill's actual statement was. Let's take a look.
Good morning, everyone. It has been my honor and pleasure to serve as your Colleton County Clerk of Court over these past 4 years. The Clerk's office has provided many services to the citizens of Colleton County. The Colleton County Clerk's office is proud of our services and the significant impacts we have made in the history of South Carolina. Here at the Colleton County Courthouse, you will find a full-service passport office with certified agents ready to help you, as well as notary services and e-filing that has streamlined our civil processes. Another significant impact in our clerk's office was in 2023 when we had to manage one of the biggest trials in South Carolina history. Our small town came together and made everyone proud. Managing a trial with such importance to the people of South Carolina, as well as of the national and international media, interest and public scrutiny, and has caused me to reflect upon decisions involving my stay in the office of the Clerk of Court. And so after much reflection, I have decided that it is best not to run again for re-election. I will now be able to focus on being a wife, a mother, and grandmother to my 2 grandboys, and will be spending time with the people who mean the most to me. With the upcoming election, I wanted to ensure that I provided ample time for other Republican candidates who may be interested in pursuing this position. I want to publicly thank all of the citizens of Colleton County who voted for me, who have supported me, and who have stood by me. I also want to take just a moment to extend heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of a very, very kind, professional educator here in Colleton County who has departed this life and gone on to the other life that she has. And that is the family of Debbie Price. And so today I just want to take a few seconds of silence just to remember her and her family and friends. I also want to thank my amazing staff who work in the Clerk of Court's office for the wonderful job that they have done and that they will continue to do. We are fortunate to have strong leadership within our office, and I am proud to say that our clerk's office will seamlessly move forward. I look forward to all of the future holds and will fondly remember the true amazing friendships that I have made while serving the incredible people of Colleton County. And so, as we fix our eyes forward, I would like to announce also that my resignation as Clerk of Court will be effective immediately. Thank you.
All right. Now, what's interesting about this is that first she talks about the clerk's office and all the services that the clerk's office provides to Colleton County. You can get your passport. And one of the things that she says that we also managed the largest, most important trials in South Carolina history. And we did it so well together. We took the challenge and we were able to just do it wonderfully. But there was something about that, and this is what she says. There was something about that experience that caused her to reflect upon her decision to continue to stay on as in the office of the Clerk of the Court. So what was it, really? What was it about this trial specifically that caused her to have this moment, this epiphany, that, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should spend more time with my grandchildren. So maybe you can say, well, the heinous nature of this murder is what caused her to have second thoughts. But as the Clerk of the Court, you've probably seen a lot of very gruesome murder trials all the time, unfortunately. And that didn't cause you to have this moment of inspiration where you realize that you want to spend more time with your children and your grandchildren. So what was it about this case that caused you to have this moment of reflection? The only thing that would make sense is the allegations that happened afterwards. What happened? The alleged jury tampering, everything that you went through because of those allegations, whether they're true or not. But that's the reason. That's the only thing that seems to make sense why she all of a sudden decided that this is not a good idea to continue to stay on as the Clerk of the Court. And she says that she decided that she wants to focus on being a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. So very nice. That's really, she just wants to spend more time with her family, and she doesn't want to be involved in all these murders and all this work that she has to do all the time. She wants to have more time with her grandchildren. All right. Well, I think a good enough excuse, I think people are watching this and they're not really believing this 100%. She's still young enough to continue working. She doesn't have to spend 24 hours a day with her children or grandchildren. She can still carve out plenty of time after work hours to spend time with her children and grandchildren who are probably going to be in school anyway. So, whether people are buying it or not, it's still something that she has to say. So as a lawyer, of course, you're going to tell her, yeah, this is something that it makes you look a little bit better, even if people are not going to believe you. Now, what was interesting is that she had this moment of silence for Debbie Price. And what was the purpose of that? I mean, really, what's the purpose of having a moment of silence? I don't know how many press conferences ever had a moment of silence for someone. And it's a nice gesture. Like, I'm sure this woman, Debbie Price, was a wonderful woman. And it's a shame whatever happened to her, that she passed away. But why? Why during this press conference do you need to do that? And I think that part of that is just to show that this is just a wonderful woman. And she has this close friend. And she wants to hold a moment of silence for her. And now we're going to just attack her and say that all these allegations are true? You know, it's a sympathy grab. You want some sympathy. And that's what's going on with that moment of silence. I think it's trying a little too hard. And I know that I'm on, it's a sensitive area. You know, Debbie Price can be a wonderful person. And how can I say that she shouldn't be holding a moment of silence for her? How mean can I be? But I think it just comes across as you're trying too hard. Becky Hill, you're just trying too hard. It's one thing if you say, you know what, I just want to spend more time with my family, but now you're going to also have a moment of silence. I'm sure there's other people that passed away that also deserve a moment of silence. What about them? You know, so it just smells a little bit like you want too much. You're trying too hard. Essentially, that's my thoughts about that. All right, let's move on to the next clip where her attorney then starts taking questions.
I'll be taking a couple of questions, but I do want to say one thing because I know that there are speculation and rumors. Having lived in small town South Carolina my entire life, I can see where people's minds may run after an announcement such as this. So let me be extremely clear. Today is not in response whatsoever to anything going on with any investigation or anything of that nature. And I'm going to say that one more time. Today is not in response to any new development of some investigation or anything like that.
So before he starts taking questions, he says, let me be very clear today. And then he says that this is not in response whatsoever to anything going on with any investigation. And then he says, let me tell you that again. Now, I don't know if that was the spur of the moment, why he said, let me tell you that again. Let me stress that again. Why did he have to stress it again? Was that a spur of the moment thing or was that planned? I wonder. And the reason is that if he would have asked my advice, I wouldn't have said it so strong. Because when you say something so strong like that, and you say it again so strong, it's really, you can start sensing this is not authentic either. This is just what you want people to believe. So therefore, you're going to stress it again and again and again. You better believe me. Believe me. I'm saying it again. I'm saying it. How can you not believe me? I said very strongly that this has nothing to do whatsoever with anything to do with the investigation. When you stress something too hard, it's like you want people to believe it. And why would you want people to believe it so badly if it's the truth and that's the truth? So again, I think it just either was lack of preparation that you'd want to stress something so hard, or it was just, spur of the moment that he decided, or just, I don't know why he decided to stress it, even if it was, he prepared it like that. I don't think it was a smart move. I think it makes it look like you just want people to believe that, even though it's not true. So I thought that was interesting. Also, what was interesting, I thought, is that he doesn't actually repeat the same words. Now, this is being a little bit lawyerly technical, but he doesn't actually repeat the same thing. He says, let me be very clear today that this is not in response whatsoever to anything going on with any investigation. And then he says, let me say that again. This is not in response to any new development of some investigation or anything like that. So he actually doesn't say the same thing again. If you want to say something again, you better say the same thing again, because now you're saying any new developments. Well, what about the previous developments? Is it in response to the previous developments or previous developments that happened and just not anything new that happened? So, maybe this is me being too much of a lawyer about it, but I don't think the whole idea of stressing it twice was a great idea anyway. So that's my opinion about that. Okay, let's move on to the next clip.
Justin, obviously we haven't talked to you guys since January. Justice Toll said what she said during that hearing up in Columbia. I'm just wondering, your response to that publicly now.
We respect Justice Toll, and she is a longtime jurist in this state. I don't think you'll find any lawyer that doesn't respect her, and we respect her decision in court. We respect her review of things, and the comments that she made. She is former Chief Justice Toll.
All right, so here was a reporter's question about Justice Toll. And it's a tough question because let's all remember that Justice Toll said in that evidentiary hearing, in her findings, that she doesn't find Becky Hill to be a credible witness and that she succumbed to the call of fame. And she did not have anything too positive to say about Becky Hill. So here, the reporter's asking, what's your response to Justice Toll? Now, this is a real catch-22 because if you want to stand up for your client, and say, no, my client was saying the absolute God-given truth, and I don't know what Justice Toll was thinking. Well, now you're throwing Justice Toll under the bus. And if you say, well, Justice Toll is just wonderful, she's just a wonderful jurist, well, then essentially you're saying that your client's not credible. So it's a real problem what to do with this question. The right response, in my opinion, to this question is we're not talking about it. That's the answer. We're not going to talk about the evidentiary hearing. We're not talking about pending investigations. We're not talking about the ethics commissions. We're not talking about that. This is all about the citizens of the constituents of Colleton County. That's what this is all about. This has really nothing to do with the evidentiary hearing. But he doesn't answer that. And therefore he falls into a little bit of this trap. And he answers the question. And he says, well, Justice Toll is a wonderful jurist. And she's a longtime jurist. And everybody respects her opinions. Well, you just said that your client's not credible. That's exactly what you just did as a lawyer. So that was not the right answer, in my opinion. I think he should have dodged that one, as he initially said he's going to dodge these type of questions, and he didn't dodge it. Sometimes you want to dodge it, and then at the spur of the moment, you don't. So this is, again, something with a little bit, maybe perhaps more preparation for this press conference. He would have been able to think about, oh, if I get a question like this, I'm going to sidestep it the way that I just did. But that didn't happen, and therefore it kind of makes it look that he's agreeing with Justice Toll. And Becky Hill is there nodding along. Yeah, Justice Toll is just wonderful. Well, she found that you're not credible and that you just succumbed to the to fame, trying to get fame. All right. Anyway, so that was that, and then we'll just finish off with one of the reporter asking that, what was the deciding factor? Does this really have nothing to do with anything else but her decision to stay with her family? Let's take a look.
Becky, what would you say was the deciding factor in announcing your resignation today?
Oh, without a doubt, my grandchildren. If you have grandchildren, you know.
So you're saying your resignation had nothing to do at all with the investigation?
Yes, sir.
What the resignation is strictly about the people of Colleton. And again, we're not going to get into any of the investigation stuff and all that as things are still open. But the primary and the main focus of today is what is in the best interest of the constituency, the public. And this ended up being the out of the options that were on the table, for example, just not running again and staying in office through the election, etc. Like I mentioned earlier, that ran the risk of detracting or impeding the public's ability to digest information from candidates about what they want to offer. So that's why the decision was made. We'll take one more question. Yes, sir. I believe, I would have to double check, but I believe the governor would have the ability to make an appointment. I don't know that there would be a special election. However, that wouldn't be out of the question. That question would probably be more directed for state election commission. And if there is a special election, of course, that will be announced by the powers that be in the elections office. And then folks will campaign, and the result will be the result, and then you will have your normal election in November. So thank y'all so very much.
So here you have Becky Hill jumping in saying, this is about my grandchildren. See, she doesn't want, it's like she's jumping ahead of the attorney. She wants to answer this question. And she says, it's about my grandchildren. If you'd have grandchildren, you'd understand. And then the attorney goes and says, well, this is about the constituents of Colleton County. And that's what this is all about. This is always about what's in the best interest of Colleton County. So together, the answers don't contradict each other. She wants to spend more time with her family, and therefore it's not a good idea to have her as part of working for the constituents of Colleton County if she really doesn't want to be doing the job, because she wants to be spending more time with her grandchildren. So that's how the press conference ended, essentially. There's maybe one other question, but that's how it went. So those are my observations of the press conference. I think it could have been done a little bit better. I think it could have been done a little bit cleaner, a little bit more preparation. This is being broadcasted across the world, and everyone's going to be picking apart what you said. And it just seemed to me that he may be a wonderful lawyer, but it seemed like there's sometimes he was just caught a little bit and with not exactly prepared for exactly what he's going to say, and therefore you can end up running into trouble by saying certain things, which if you read more into it, then you see what's painting your client and not the greatest picture. So that's my analysis on this press conference, and that will be it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, and we will see you next time.